As heads of state and government pack their bags for their annual gathering here in New York, expectations are tempered on what they might deliver at the UN's 2024 flagship Summit of the Future that deals with cross-cutting issues from sustainable development, financing for development, digital cooperation, in particular artificial intelligence, to changing the international peace and security architecture, most notably the Security Council, in an effort to better respond to the complex challenges facing humanity today. But as this analyst explains, while expectations are high, fundamental change might be hard to achieve in the short term.
I don't think anyone believes that the Summit of the Future is going to deliver progress on the big security challenges that we face. And actually, a lot of leaders from developing countries have tried to refocus the conversation on poverty and on debt. And what many leaders from poorer states hope to get is promises of new financing, or at least pathways to get more international assistance. That, I think, is going to be the main topic. There will be discussion of peace and security issues, but the reality is there is no consensus on Security Council reform, no consensus on how to get nuclear disarmament back on track, and only a very limited consensus on the need to improve UN peacekeeping and some other less controversial files.
While the summit seeks to address gaps in global governance broadly, part of the Pact of the Future grapples with the issue of reforming the Security Council, which from Gaza to Ukraine to Syria, among other files, has fallen short. Oxfam this week releasing a new report titled Vetoing Humanity, how a few powerful nations hijacked global peace and why reform is needed at the UN Security Council.
The veto is an undemocratic reflection of an archaic past, which makes the Security Council dysfunctional, and it does not reflect the realities of today. It's unacceptable. So therefore, it is not about a veto. It's not a quid pro quo, that you come and get a membership and get a veto. Veto is unacceptable. And yes, we must ensure that there's serious fundamental reform, transformation of the Security Council, but it does not mean enlarging the club. It essentially means democratizing the Security Council. That's the fundamental shift that we are asking for.
Just as the United States revealed that it supported Africa's ascension to the permanent category, but contrary to the AU's common position, without the veto, that the US is seeking to retain only for the current permanent 5, including Russia, China, the UK and France.
It's really up to Africa to assert itself on this, and we're looking forward to seeing African countries respond to what the US just said. But again, for us, we're not here to prescribe anything on what needs to be seen in terms of composition. We're simply noting the fact that based on natural justice, there's no democracy and inclusion.
Beyond the Summit of the Future, key geopolitical concerns also expected to dominate discussions next week. Ukraine, Sudan and Gaza top of mind for many leaders expected here.
South Africa has been a notable activist at the UN over the last year over Gaza. And other leaders will be listening to what South Africa has to say about how to follow up on the decisions we've had so far from the International Court of Justice related to Gaza. I think that most leaders will be referring to the Israel-Hamas conflict, and almost everyone is going to call for a ceasefire. Almost everyone will make some reference to the need for a two-state solution. But the reality is that is not going to get negotiated in New York in the General Assembly week. So there'll be a lot of words, but I suspect not much real progress.
Amid a complexity of challenges, including the critical need for sustainable development that must weigh on deliberations.
You have a moment where neoliberal capitalism is functioning in a way where, as you would see our report, 5 top billionaires have doubled their wealth, whereas 5 billion people have become poorer. That's the kind of neoliberal capital stage that we are in. Democracies across are clearly in a crisis. climate catastrophe is really serious, and you're seeing that across all around. At this juncture, we do not have now the option of continuing with the way we have functioned. And this is really that moment where we need dramatic transformation.
The very future of multilateralism's effectiveness at stake in a rapidly advancing world where current governance structures still date back to the formation of the UN in 1945. Sherwin Bryce-Pease, SABC News, New York.